All right. Happy Friday. Q&A on January 27th. And we'll open the floor to you guys. If you have any questions for Alex and I, please let us know.
I have a question. I guess it's kind of related to balancing like normal physical activities with your workouts. So I was sick for a couple of days this week, so I had to push back some of my workouts. So normally my leg day is yesterday, but because of getting sick, I got to do it tomorrow. But also tomorrow, I'm supposed to be snowboarding for like 6 to 8 hours. So it's like, what do you guys think? Like, how do you handle that balance? It's like, I don't want to not go snowboarding with all my friends, but it's like, how do I also do a leg day after snowboarding all day?
Yeah, that's a great. Or Alex, if you want to go ahead.
No, you're good, brother. Go on.
Great question. So I would just go snowboarding and see how you feel after you go boarding. And if you feel up to doing the leg workout, you could do it. You probably don't even, if you do the workout, you don't have to like probably push as hard as you normally would, since your legs are probably going to be toast. I mean, my legs are always toasted after I go boarding. So, or
Yeah.
you can move your leg day to a different day, or you could consider the snowboarding your leg day. Then just focus on your leg day for next week.
I would do something similar as well. So first of all, where are you going? Are you up in Buffalo area?
Yeah, I'm just going to Holiday Valley.
My place, man. Got to
Yeah.
hit that moon shadow and show that baby what it's been missing. I love that. Oh, that's my
fuck
place, man. There, we might go up there Sunday, actually, dude. Dude,
That's
I'll
fun.
tell you what, the only problem about that place is they sell those little waffles. Chris, they got this little shack at the below under Cindy's. They sell
waffle
waffles there. They make them right there, dude, and they dip them in chocolate, and you can smell it. The whole place smells like waffles. And you're like, I'm not going to get a waffle. But then you smell it, you're like, I'm going to get a waffle. You pay $9. You're like, $9 for a waffle, but it's good. But nonetheless, so what I would do in this situation here is exactly what Chris said. Either A, I probably wouldn't do my leg workout because I'm going to be snowboarding all day. I ski because skiing's elite, just saying. But anyway, I wouldn't do it because you're going to be on your feet all day. What I would either do, what I like to do on days like that, I just enjoy going to the gym. So I would go there and I would do like a modified full body workout, something light just to get the blood moving. Then I would go to the gym, go skiing, or I would just move the leg day to the next day, depending upon how I feel. Because again, as you know, Anthers Lake Effect snow up there, moguls everywhere. Your freaking quads are going to be burning like a mother effer. So you got a leg workout.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to see how I feel after and then take it from there. But that's all good advice. Thank you.
When I did a long morning's work on my orchard yesterday, pruning, I've got about 500 trees my wife and I manage. That's another story. So I was just picking it up, sawing wood into smaller bits, putting them in a pile to be burned later. The bigger bits, putting them in another pile, wheelbarrowing them and stacking them up for the wood burner in a year. And at the end of the day, my arms are aching, my traps are aching, and I've done 8,000 steps. So that's all the working I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It's a good day yesterday. I mean, today I've been stuck with meetings. I've just spent the last 2 hours with a car salesman. I've got a cook series, so I'll probably go out for a short walk and maybe get 4,000 steps done today. But I got 8,000 yesterday.
There you go.
So one modifies. I mean, that's my take on it anyway. It's great to. I like to do some physical. I like to do something useful. I'm not saying the gym. I'll never disrespect on that at all. But I like to see some products at the end of the day. I mean, the reason we have all this problem, I say we, I mean my generation, people like me who are obese, through sitting in a chair, eating and drinking too much, and not having a physical job. Whereas our ancestors who didn't have access to quite as much easy swallow calories as we do, and they had to work for a living, they didn't have the obesity problems that people like me have got today. It's not an excuse, just an observation.
Yeah. Life's easier and humans are getting sillier.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you could get food. Oh, you can pretty much get everything delivered to your door now. You don't even have to get out of
Can.
your house if you don't want to.
You don't even have to get out of your car half the time, man. Still doing curbside pickup.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions out there?
I'll lead with one thing right now because this has by far been, I feel like the whole time I've been here, the most common question, but more so this week, some gentlemen coming to me just about protein issues. And I don't know if anybody in here suffers with this. They see the number on the MyFitnessPal and they think it's huge, whether it be 150, 170, 180 grams of protein. They see that number, they're like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to hit this protein goal? Which is much easier than you would anticipate. Things like what I always like to say about protein is I like to try to prioritize 80% of my diet from high protein, single source ingredient foods, which is like seafood, beef, poultry, yogurt, milk, things of that nature. And then after that's all said and done, I like to add protein. So easy to get the protein. You know, we have I got one of my garbage here, the Fairlife protein. That's 42 grams of protein right there. You have protein powders, and then you can even manipulate that protein powder as where you could put it in a bowl of oatmeal, and that's an extra 24 grams of protein. You put it in a cup of Greek yogurt, that just turned 20 grams of protein into 46. Like these little things that you can do throughout your day to implement a little bit more protein. So if anybody in here suffers with that problem where they see that protein number, like, oh shit, I don't know how I'm ever going to do this. Much easier than you think. It just takes a little tweaks and stuff. So just wanted to say that because again, this by far been the most common question I've got this week.
I had one of those Core Life, what was it? Core Power? No, it was Core Power Elite Vanilla.
Is that the 26 gram or is that the 42?
It was 42, and I'm telling you, man. I mean,
Delicious.
drink that for dessert because that
Oh.
tasted just like a melt. It tasted
does.
like cake completely. So
Yeah, they
And
all
there's your-
do. They're freaking delicious.
yeah.
Yeah. And another thing to add for if you're having trouble with protein intake is your meat source. So if you typically have, let's say, 4 to 6 ounces of chicken or steak, if you just add a little bit more serving size to that, so instead of like a 6-ounce chicken, you do 8 or 9 ounces, that's gonna add more protein for you, but also it will keep the calories low because typically chicken is low in calories for the most part. So if you're also having trouble with that, increasing your serving size for your meat source is another great way to add protein.
And to add on that, eat your protein first whenever you eat. You get full by filling yourself up with the carbs and fat first. So that's a problem that I used to have is I couldn't eat that much. And the problem was is because I was like eating the carbs and everything else before I'd eat the protein. So I was already kind of full. Then I started eating the protein. I get satiated. Bam, I'm full. So if you're having that problem, eat the protein first, then move on to the other stuff. Because in my opinion, the protein and everything is much more important than the carbohydrates and everything for a majority of people's goals if it is to lose weight. If it was to gain weight, different story, but it's not.
One of the things that I've been having happen recently, and I'm basically at the end of the program now, and I'm staying on to get get access to all the different things to keep myself accountable to everything. But one of the things that I just did, or I find, is that I'm getting more hungry in between meals, and so what I did was I did some research. So like one of the things I like is jerky or built Bitlong. And so I went in and found out what was the highest protein for the lowest calorie intake for Bitlong in order to bunch of it so that I can have that to snack on. And, if I get hungry in between meals, looking for some of that high calorie or low calorie, high protein snacking stuff so that I can get little bits of protein in throughout the day.
Popcorn's also a very great tool for that as well. If you're really hungry between meals, it's a great snack because it's very low calorie and it really fills you up. It's really dense.
Yeah. That was good. Any other questions? I guess talking on protein, when you're out and about, if a restaurant or fast food place doesn't have their caloric nutrition facts, I like to use my hands. So for protein, hands, us males, we get 2 palmfuls of protein. Typically, they say females only is 1 palmful, but so if you're out and about, a good serving size is 2 palmfuls of your hands for protein. So if you're out and about and can't really figure out how to track your protein source, typically a palmful, I think it's like 4 to 6 ounces, I believe, roughly.
Yeah, I think they say most palms are typically about 4 ounces. You got a bigger hand, 4 to 6.
Oh yeah.
If nobody has any questions, I'll segue this into a different conversation I have. I don't think it's talked about too much, but I think there's a lot of importance to it. I've been trying to stress to some of my guys is the importance of recovery protocols. Most importantly, I think is stretching, a good static stretching session at the end of the night. This takes time to work into. I know, if you're out of shape, you might not have the mobility that you would if you weren't. And even not in shape, if you haven't done mobility and stretching in a long time anyway, you're going to have some issues to start off, which deters people from actually proceeding forward. I think the best metric that people like to go off of is if you can touch your toes. A lot of people can't touch their toes, and when they can't, they're like, well, shit, I might as well not even try. The more you implement these mobility routines into your life, whether it be before lifting or after, which I think are both important. However, I put more importance on the static stretching at night, especially after you've been physically active all day. You've been constricting your muscles all day. They're very tight, and that harbors energy. For any of you who've read the book Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, at the end of his book, he goes into this perfectly. He was suffering with some major fatigue. He almost thought he was dying. Like, he was almost on his deathbed, he said. And then he remembers this study that they had in Navy SEALs training where this guy came in and was showing all these stretches and mobility things. And he's like, well, I have no idea what to do, so I'm going to try this. He got that guy to come over, showed him some stretches. He implemented a daily stretching routine, and bam, all his problems were gone because all that energy had harbored in his body and he didn't release it. So especially as you go, it's not a bad idea to implement that 5 to 15 minute stretching at night, because it's going to lengthen your muscles. It's going to heal your muscles quicker. It's going to release that energy. It's going to release that tension, as well as help you sleep a better night's sleep. I know the days that I stretch at night, because there's sometimes you just don't. The easiest things to do are also the easiest things to put on the back burner. It's so easy to sit down for 5 to 15 minutes and stretch, but you have to carve that time out. But if you do and you get in that rhythm, you're going to feel the immense benefits in the morning. So instead of waking up sore and decrepit, granted, after a strenuous workout, you might still wake up a little bit sore. However, it's going to mitigate a majority of the issues that you would have had you not. So I think it's very important for people to just implement that in your daily lives, because it's going to pay dividends the older you get with your mobility issues. And if you're able to do these exercises and these stretches, again, it's going to help in the gym as well with increasing your form.
I think that's very significant what you said, Alex, there. I can't touch my toes. I'm about 3 or 4 inches short. I can't, try to do the chair yoga, putting my right hand on my left heel, and I can't do it. And that was a bit dispiriting, but we'll blow it. I'm going to do as much as I can, try and do it regularly. What I have noticed that after about 4 or 5 weeks in, that when I'm in the car, turning around and look behind me, I'm actually able to look behind me a lot better than I was able to before I started, which is not a massive win, but it's a win. Just being able to turn that much to to look behind me. I couldn't do it at the beginning of November. So just that, oh creak, oh my wretched, I want my new body, Lord, I want my new body. But just a little bit of stretch to keep it up. Yeah. Carry on saying that. Carry on telling that to the old guys.
Do you guys have like a routine for stretching? It's like I haven't seen much of it in the program, and honestly, it's not something I really do very much.
Yeah, I actually made a video not too long ago. I posted in the chat. I can actually, it's still in my camera roll. I'll send it to you over in a private chat so you have it. It's just basically what I do. I run through bare minimum, and Chris can tell you what he does. But what I do, man, I just have a routine. I started my calves and I go all the way up. So I just start at the calves, I do the quads, I do the hams, I do the glutes, I do the abs. I just keep working up and do every body part once. And sometimes like I'll implement, like I did heavy deadlifts 2 days ago. So my back is just cranked up and my glutes are. So, like I'll stretch, I'll foam roll for a minute, stretch again, but that's just adding stuff to my life. But if you wanted to do a simple routine, I can send you that video. But Chris, what do you do?
Yeah, for recovery, mobility, I like to do, I have a massage gun, so I'll use the massage gun. I actually don't have a foam roller, but I use a lacrosse ball. That's my go-to.
Those are brutal.
So I use a lacrosse ball a lot, even when I'm working at my desk. I have a sit to stand desk. So if I'm sitting or standing, I'm always rolling the bottom of my foot out, because it is true. It starts from your foot. If you have good, healthy feet, everything else is going to follow into your body. But with that, so I use a lacrosse ball a lot. My glutes get really tight, so I just hammer my glutes on the lacrosse ball a lot. Then for static stretching, I like to use a resistance band. So I'll use a resistance band for my lower body. So I'll lay on the floor, I'll put the band in the middle of my foot, and I'll lift my leg up with the band, and you're able to control how much tension you want with the band. So I will stretch out my hamstrings, then I'll move the leg like across my body. That'll get my hip area IT band a little bit. Then I swing my leg out to the side. That will get the inner quad groin area. Then I will stretch out my calf with the band. Then I will switch to my other leg, same thing. Then I typically will do like a piriformis stretch and a hip flexor stretch. I do like 20-second holds. That's typically doing that it's like 5 minutes. So it's not terrible. So that's typically what I'll do for my lower body. I will be honest with you, my upper body, I could be a lot more diligent on, but upper body, I will do more like a prayer stretch or thread the needle. So thread the needle is like where you're in a prayer stretch, but you just reach across your body like that. But those are the main two I do. I could definitely be more diligent on my upper body. But yeah, typically lacrosse ball, massage gun. Then I use the resistance bands for the
Those
static.
lacrosse balls are unrelenting, man. They hurt so bad. Like they hurt so bad that you want to stop, but they also hurt so bad that they feel so good because they relieve that tension. I'm sending that video to you right now, Dan. And another exercise that you may benefit with, because you are a snowboarder, and this is going to be great to just stretch out your hip flexors, your hamstrings, your quads, your glutes, depending upon where your feet placement is. I'm going to try to get this in my thing so you can see it. It's just literally going down and just sitting like that. And then if you manipulate your feet, because you can turn your feet out, you can't really see it. But if you do that, you stretch in here in your abductors. And then if you bring your feet in and come to the middle like that, and you lean forward a little bit, right here, your tibialis, it will stretch that out as well. So it's so versatile because, again, depending upon where your feet are, it is targeting a different part of your legs. And again, as you're snowboarding, like all that stuff is going to seize up. I know after a good day on the mountains out there, man, that it feels great when you're sliding down the hill, but as soon as you unbuckle those boots and you take everything off in the ski lodge and maybe sit down in your car for a little bit and you start going home, and then you get out of the car, you're like, holy shit. Yeah. I feel like I'm 80 because you're just walking like shit. So, so doing stuff like that, man, to mitigate it, because the best time to implement a stretching routine is going to be like you tonight, or I don't know if you said you're going today or tomorrow, whatever day it was. after like snowboarding and stuff like that, really strenuous on your legs, really strenuous. So it's definitely good because then you're going to activate the blood flow to those body parts. And that's why I like static stretching. And one thing to note about static stretching is if you don't know the difference between dynamic and static stretching, two different things. Think dynamic stretching like yoga when you're doing those moving poses and you're not holding them. Think static stretching like when you're sitting and trying to just touch your toes and just holding that spot. You don't want to static stretch before you do exercise or do strenuous activity. You want to gear your body part up. So you want to do more dynamic stretches, like you're moving, you're not holding that static stretch. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Okay.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I agree. Dynamic warm up before your workouts.
And I'm
You
also like Chris, I don't put too much premise on my upper body. I probably should put a little bit more, but I do dead hangs and that literally like kind of makes me feel good. I stretch out my like chest a lot and like my shoulders and stuff, but yeah, I don't really stretch out too much up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I always do a dynamic warm up before my workouts. Those are good. Dynamic warm ups, they help also increase your body temperature too, because you're stretching while you're moving. So when
Yep.
when you get into your workout, your body's ready to go because the temperatures rise. Because with static stretching, you're just, you're stretching for like 20 seconds. Your body temperature isn't rising at all. So with dynamic warm-ups, your body's ready to go. Me personally, like if I'm doing a leg day, I do a lot of side lunges, lunge and twists or whatever. But if I'm doing squats that day, I will mimic like squat warm-ups to get into my heavy squat day. So yes.
Yeah, so this morning was my first workout. I did not have a bar to hang from to do the dead hangs. Do you recommend something different in place of those where I didn't have the place to hang from?
Yeah, nothing's really going to mimic the dead hangs. We can implement some other stuff for shoulder health and things of that nature. I just really enjoy the dead hangs in general, and I think they're a fantastic warm up for so many different reasons. They, just like Chris was talking about, they raise your body temperature. They're like that nice pre-workout. They also had the benefit to piggyback off what he said about why he likes dynamic stretching, about raising your body temp, also raises your heart rate, which is fantastic to get in the mindset and your body primed to move that weight. But the dead hangs are great because not only do they work on stretching your whole upper body, they stretch your lats, they stretch your lower back, kind of decompress your spine. They also stretch your quads. They improve your grip strength, which of course is going to correlate to being able to grip more weight. So one of the biggest problems that some people have with lifting weights is they don't have the grip strength. So say you're doing rows to work your back, your grip strength is going to give out way before your back's ready to give out. So the dead hangs act as like a grip strength improver. If you don't have a pull-up bar, not a deal breaker, not a huge deal, but it would be beneficial to have. But again, it's not a deal breaker, so we'll just have to take those out.
Yeah, I'll see. I mean, I've got a unique situation that my wife works out at the same time as I do. So she's working out at our house, and I drove into work to use the gym at work this morning, and they don't have a pull-up bar there. So I would have one at home. So I guess in theory, I could do some dead hangs before jumping in the car.
Yeah. And even if so you don't even have to use them as a pre-workout. If you have one at home, if you just want to implement like a little daily routine, whatever fits your day, like in that little nook of time, you're like, at this time, I'm going to go do a few sets of dead hangs. And what I like to tell guys to do is try to work up to 2 minutes, not a 2-minute straight dead hang, but just like a few sets of it. So like 10 to 30 seconds, 4 to 5 sets. You just do that. You're going to see the benefits. And even this could be your morning routine, like right when you wake up. It's going to help you kind of wake up a little bit, stretch your body out from being asleep all night, or if you wanted to implement it at night or break that up into whatever that looks like to you. But it would be extremely beneficial just to add them to your life because they are extremely beneficial for shoulder health and a mountain of other things.
Cool.
I was listening to the Huberman Lab, and they had, I can't remember his name, Andy something Golpin, I think, was on there, and he was talking about all these different, he did a study on all these different measures of fitness and where people are supposed to be. And one of the concepts, I think, for muscle endurance was the ways to measure it was dead hangs. And he said that he'd like to see people males do dead hangs for 30 seconds or more. Would prefer it to be above 60, but that's a good, like, if you can do it for 30 seconds, you're like you're in decent shape. So
Yeah.
that was just something I heard this week. So I thought it was interesting.
Dude, that's a 4-hour podcast. I'm only an hour and a half deep. I hate when people come out with 4.5-hour podcasts. Like, who's got time for that, man? I don't have time for that. Sheesh.
Bro, I listened to Huberman on Joe Rogan, and then
It was great. Great episode.
Yeah, and I hadn't listened to him in a long time because I think I listened to one of his other episodes and it wasn't that great. And then you guys got me in on it a couple weeks ago, and I've just started listening to a whole bunch. Like,
they're great.
His caffeine one was great. His
Alcohol
one on creativity was amazing.
Oh, he did 2 on those. They're both good.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I've been listening to that like nonstop. But yeah, that one I just thought it was interesting that he said that dead hangs was a measurement for one of the aspects of overall physical health.
Even more so than that, if you're familiar with Dr. Peter Attia, he has a podcast called The Drive. Fantastic. If you like Huberman Lab, you'll love Peter Attia's podcast. Same type of guy. Peter Attia is a doctor, and he just dives deep into a lot of longevity studies. That's his big crux, is longevity.
Yeah.
So he actually goes a step further and talks about grip strength as being a key indicator to longevity in life. And the reason for that is a majority of people, and I forget the exact statistics, so somebody can fact check me here, going to butcher it a little bit. I believe it's 78. If you're over 78 and you fall and break your hip, you have over a 50% chance of dying afterwards, not from the hip, but because you're going to be immobile. So one of the biggest indicators of longevity as you get older is grip strength. And the reason for that is you have the power to get yourself back up if you fall. One of the biggest indicators of people dying when they're older is falls. If you have the power to still get yourself up, you're going to be in a lot better spot than the person who's going to fall and not be able to get back up. So he actually cites that as a huge indicator for longevity studies.
And I may be mistaken because I listened to a little bit of that, and then it started to be repetitive. And so I was like, forget it. That's the only problem with listening to Huberman and Attia is they have the same, sometimes they'll have the same guests on back to back. And it's kind of like, it gets repetitive.
Yep, I understand. Yeah,
I worked in orthopedic surgery, and I can second that. Yeah, I mean, women suffer more from broken hips because of problems to do with estrogen and osteoporosis. But yeah, a fall and break your hip, that's often the final straw for someone who is very frail.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen it.
Yeah, actually on the dead hang, when I did my internship, I actually was told if you could hold a 60-second dead hang, you should be able to do 1 pull-up.
Interesting metric right there, but that makes sense because if you can hold yourself up for a minute, it only makes sense that you could pull yourself up at least once.
Yeah. So when I was told that, I'm like, oh, like that's really good to know.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That would be an interesting way to kind of like trick somebody into being able to do a pull-up, because I think they're very intimidating because they're like, I can't do a pull-up. So you'd be like, okay, screw the pull-ups. Let's just do dead hangs. And then they get to a minute. You're like, all right, let's try a pull-up. They're like, I can't do that. I'm like, I think you can.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, pull-ups are one of the toughest exercises out there. I think you're literally trying to pull 90% of your body weight up.
I'll tell you what, and I'm not ashamed to admit this, but I was probably when I was 27, I'm 30 now. So 3 years ago, I never did pull-ups because I just remember from years ago, I could never do a pull-up and they intimidated the hell out of me. And ever since then, I made them a staple of my workout, dude. And I'll tell you what, one of the best exercises you can do. One of the best.
I'm just
Some work to
looking
get
around my home and thinking, where can I put a lift bar? I can't think of anywhere, but I've got a big tree.
There you go. Hang from that sucker.
Maybe I can, get some rope and stuff. Yeah, I'll have to think about it. Yeah, I can see it from here.
Yeah. The fatter the branch or the fatter the bar, if you're using a bar, the more it's going to help with your grip strength.
Yep.
Well, I'll give it a think. It might even does hanging, pulling, doing pull-ups or hanging from a bar, is that likely to improve back pain? I'll give it a try. So,
I mean, it could
That's-
improve back
that's
pain.
asking a lot. Yeah, don't make up an answer if you don't know.
It's definitely
I
gonna
mean-
help strengthen your back.
Yeah, I mean, for back pain, for me, the dead hangs, they really feel like they alleviate and kind of relieve some of that pressure in my spine. Would I say that it eradicates my pain? No, but it definitely makes it a little bit better. Is that the placebo? I don't care. It happens, it works, and it works for me.
It's a placebo. Quacker,
Yeah,
quacker. Right.
I
Yeah,
used to
that-
have that book, You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you're familiar with it, Stephen. You ever hear that book?
Which book, sorry?
You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joey Dispenza.
I didn't hear that. Joey Dispenza.
Yeah, he actually has a few books out, but I'll tell you what, that book blew my mind, man. I think he's a doctor as well.
You are the placebo.
Yeah,
Right.
dude, the placebo is a hell of a thing, man. He starts out the book and just telling like these anecdotal stories from people who it just blew my mind. Placebo is a hell of a thing. And he even talked even more so about the nocebo effect being even more powerful than the placebo effect, thinking you can't do something. That really boxes you into a hole that's horrible.
In the whole question of mental contagion, I don't want to go too far off of down the rabbit hole, but this whole trans thing, a huge amount. Does anyone believe that number of people with sexual dysphoria, gender dysphoria, has massively increased, or is it a mental contagion that's being spread by certain people who have an agenda? You get the weird ideas into your head, and they can screw you up big time.
I think it's just people who want to be accepted and don't know how to
Yeah.
deal with certain aspects of life.
I don't pretend to understand.
Yeah.
But
I think
as a man thinks in his heart, so he is.
Sure.
Comes in the same book as Iron Sharpens Iron.
I think it comes down to people believing they want community, okay? And you can look at this in the lens of weightlifting and exercise and getting fit as well. People put themselves in a box, whereas they've labeled themselves as something, and it brings them comfort. And even calling yourself a slob or a fat ass or something, ironically, that brings some people comfort because that's what they know. And then if they start to get out of that, that's when they start to get foreign. I recently had a conversation with a guy in my town. He had the gastric bypass, and he was telling me all the steps that he had to go through to actually get that surgery, because they put you through rigorous psychological testing. And I'm like, why the hell would they do that? Like, it just made no sense to me. You want to lose weight, and they put you through all these psychological tests. And he just told me about some people who lose all that weight and they lose their identity. They don't know who they are anymore. So it's like they want this body, but as soon as they get it, they don't know how to react to it. And I can name 2 people in my town who've got that gastric bypass and they've reverted back. So I remember this one guy comes into the bar downtown, and dude, he was probably about 400 pounds, big guy, Big Eric, we called him. And he lost a shit ton of weight. He was probably down to like $180, $190. He looked great. This is in 2018. Look at him now. He's not as big as he was, but he's a lot bigger. He slipped down the rabbit hole again. And I would assume that's because that's his identity. That's what brings him comfort, drinking the beer, having the food. That's who he was. So that's kind of the way I view the question you said, Stephen.
Well, forget it. Just throwing ideas out. Yeah.
This little nugget between our ears is powerful, man. But this is going to be an oxymoron, but we're really stupid. We're really stupid in the sense that we can trick ourselves to do stuff. You know, if for anybody who's seen it, the other day, I posted a video of me on the treadmill, the incline treadmill. And like, literally I was about 15, 20 minutes deep. I wanted to fucking quit. And I set my goal of myself for like 30 minutes. You know what I mean? I sent that video in the chat. No one replied, but just the act of sending that video did something inside my noggin. I'm like, oh, we ain't quitting, baby. We're going further. And I actually went 10 minutes longer than I wanted to initially go. And that was just the power of tricking myself, almost putting that social accountability out there and saying like, hey, I'm going to do this. And then I was like, I got to do it now. And then of course my mindset was, I got to one up what I was doing. So it's easy to trick yourself like that sometimes.
Oh yeah, we could be our worst enemy sometimes.
Dang right.
All right. It's been good. Anyone
that's been
have any other questions? No.
I'm okay.
Well, if no one has any questions, we could probably wrap this bad boy up. And let you guys move on with your Friday. Anyone got any fun plans for the weekend?
I'm going up to London to see my father. I'm a mother. My father's going to be 90.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
Crazy.
Nice. Happy birthday to your father.
How about it? That'd be a good time.
90.
Myself, I might go up. I watched some football Sunday, but I think I'm going to go skiing Sunday. We got a nice boatload of snow up here in the Northeast. Finally, woke up to a lot of snow powder, and I've only been out twice this year, so the mountains are calling my names.
Nice. Yeah, I'm jealous. That'll be fun. I haven't made it out yet.
How far do you have to go, Chris, to hit a mountain?
For a ski resort, at least 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
That ain't bad. I got to drive about an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, where I'm at, I actually get to pick. I could either go to Utah or I could go to Flagstaff in Arizona. So
Okay,
I'm like
Okay.
right in the middle of those two ski resorts.
got you.
Or even if I wanted to make it like a 4-hour drive, 3.5 to 4 hour drive, I could go to Colorado, like the southern
Okay.
southern
It's-
west part of Colorado.
Got you.
Yeah, pretty close to the Four Corners area.
Yeah.
Crested Butte.
What was that, Charles? Oh, oh.
Isn't that Crested Butte?
Yeah, Crested Butte is one of them. There's one in Pogosa, or not Pogosa, sorry. What's Durango? What's that one in Durango? Durango, Colorado. It might be called oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I don't remember the ski resort, but there's Durango is like the closest one to us where I'm at. But then Crested Butte, I think, is a little bit further, just a tiny bit further.
Where do you ski when you go to Utah?
The 2.5 hour one is close to Cedar City.
Okay. Like Brian Head?
Brian Head, yeah, I'll go to
Yeah.
Brian Head. I have done Brighton and close to Salt Lake City, Brighton.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
done that one.
I'm in Salt Lake City right now. I live in North Salt Lake, but work
Okay.
downtown in Salt Lake. So-
Nice.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
we have tons of snow. I think the top 3 resorts in terms of amount of snow received in the world are in Utah right now. And I
Yeah,
think Brighton might be on that list. Yeah, we're getting pounded.
yeah. Utah and Colorado have been getting pounded a lot this winter, which is awesome because I live right by Lake Powell, and Lake Powell had the lowest water level I've seen ever since I've been
Mhm.
alive. So the snowpack this winter has been really good because we need that runoff. We need a really good runoff for the lake.
Yeah,
But-
no, absolutely. The Great Salt Lake was close to disappearing, and it's risen a whole foot since November.
That's
I
awesome.
think some of our resorts are flirting with 500 inches right now, and as far as
Damn.
annual snowfall.
Send some of that shit to the Northeast, will ya? Not to my
Yeah.
house, a little bit north. Okay, just to note that. Send it to New York, not Pennsylvania.
I'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
jealous. It's a different world out west.
I
The
know,
Northeast
man.
Thanks for snowboarding.
The ice coast, as it's called.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, one of my long held dreams is I'd love to do a big US tour. My ideal would be to maybe fly to New Orleans and maybe visit fish on the Florida Keys, hire a car. It needn't be a T-Bird, but who knows? Head west, and eventually end up in Oregon, probably.
Oh,
See
nice.
you go.
redwoods, big redwoods. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
Should do
Well, I
it.
think a few of us would be happy to show you around our neck of the woods if you're making the trip. So
Kind
Indeed.
of you to say so. my
Come
friend.
up to Pennsylvania, Elk County, baby. People actually come here to see elk. I think that's so funny considering I live here all the time. You see people on the side of the road, they're taking pictures. You're like, what the hell are they taking pictures of? An elk. It's like, man, I lived here my whole life. Screw those elk.
yeah,
Oh.
Yeah,
the snow is actually creating
I
problems.
saw some ibis, and I thought, oh wow, an ibis. And so they call them dumpster divers. Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
like rats.
I was gonna
Anyway,
say, we had a herd of elk that planted itself on the interstate yesterday. They're
Ah.
getting driven down out of the mountains by so much snow, and they had about 200 elk on
Holy
the
shit.
interstate.
Wow.
Holy
Backed traffic
shit.
For a long ways.
Yeah, I bet they did. And elk are such weird things. They're like more docile deer. Like they don't get spooked that much. They'll just walk past you. They really don't give a shit unless they're in the rut. And if they are, GTFO, because they will hit you. They will get you.
okay, I'm gonna do the washing up, prepare food for this evening. See you all.
See you, brother. Have a good
See you,
weekend, man.
Steven. Thanks for joining us.
Bye all. Thank you.
Yeah, I hope you all have a good weekend. See you, Dan.
Yeah. See ya.
You guys.
Nail those slopes for me, brother, and leave some pow for me, man. Hey, hold on. Before you leave, what's your favorite run up there?
Probably North Star or Morning Star. Sorry.
Morningstar. I love Morningstar, dude. Quick story about Morningstar. Traveling down there, boogieing down the hill last year, man. And I came off of Mardi Gras. So I boogie in there. I hit the ramp on the left side. I'm going towards the middle, okay? And I couldn't really see because it's 9 at night. I had the wrong goggles on and it looked like
Yeah.
good powder. It wasn't good powder, okay, dude? So I'm boogieing probably 30, 40 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, dude, I literally stopped on a dime, flew right out of my effing skis. Mind you, my skis are set on the advanced setting, so I shouldn't have came out. But I was going so
Yeah.
fast and stopped so quick I did because it was a soft spot. Didn't know there's a little river running through Morningstar. Hit it,
Oh.
and I flew so far, dude. I remember some girls like, "You all right?" And I'm like, "My pride, it's gone. It's
Yeah.
just gone.
Yeah.
Everything else, I don't care. It's gone." But my favorite run up there has to be the Glades, dude. We usually go up there at night, what sucks. So you got to hurry up, get on the Mardi Gras lift. You got to hurry up and go on the backside through Candy Cane. Then you got to go up the Tannenbaum lift so you can hit the Glades because the Glades close at 4 o'clock. And it's like, dude, it's still light out. I still want to ride through the woods.
Yeah, that and Fiddlers, because I just like hitting like
I love
the little jumps. Yeah, I
Oh,
can't
it's-
do the huge jumps or nothing like
It's
that.
so
without-
fun when they set up Fiddlers for the terrain park, man. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, good shit,
Yeah,
brother. I hope you have a great freaking time.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you again, guys.
Yeah, you're
man.
welcome.
See
Yeah,
you
have
later,
fun
brother.
boarding.
see you soon, Chris.
All right, see you, man.